All right, kids, it's time to get strapped in for another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode number 218 coming to you. My name is Chris Salona, and I'm joined by Ethan Shalloway for a little night pod action. It's been a while since we've been in the seat when the sun's been down, but we got to get it done. Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It seems that every week we claim that it's the first time in a long time we've podded at this moment in time. Like,
we just
first
spread
time
the
in a
love
while
around.
that we're doing it in the morning. First time in a while we're doing it on Sunday, late Sunday, early Friday. Like, everything
There's
is
no
special.
set schedule to this. It's always special. You're right.
Yep, every time we record a special. And you're right. When's the last time that we did a Wednesday night mid hectic week podcast? I'll tell you what though, I know we're recording a podcast if we have something to do tomorrow. Like, I have to travel, so I know we're recording tonight because that's how this works. If you want to do something, you have to take out the last can of garbage.
Yeah.
That sounds
yeah.
like I'm talking about the podcast being garbage, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like your
It's
chores
not garbage,
when you're
it's
younger.
a shitty cup of coffee. There's a difference.
It's your chores when you're younger. Yeah, like we have to do this. So
Yeah,
man,
absolutely.
I'm doing well. Yeah, I had a nice few days. Just got my stuff done, and I'm looking forward to trying to get a good night of sleep. And then we're flying to Tucson, Arizona tomorrow. Super
Out
pumped.
west.
Our buddy Hanser,
The Hanser.
our buddy Steve Minji's going to come out, and so it'll come out to the meet on Friday, Saturday. So it'll be really cool. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time. I'm excited. You know, I love the desert, so
Yeah, good things happen in the desert.
that's right. How you
That's
doing, man?
I'm excited for you. It's going to be a good week. Tucson week's always been pretty kind to you over the years, so glad that you can get back there after a year hiatus. So feeling good about that. I'm pretty good. This week, as we said earlier, it's only Wednesday night, or I suppose it's already Wednesday night, depending on your perspective. But this week's kind of kicking my ass a little bit, not for any particular reason. Like, objectively, it's not. I wouldn't say that it's more difficult than recent weeks, but I'm not about it right now. Like, work's been a slog. My lifting's been going really well, but I haven't felt super great. Like, I'm a little congested right now, and I've been like doing that thing where you wake up with a sore throat in the middle of the night kind of thing. But the show goes on, heading into the long weekend here for the Memorial Day holiday in the U.S. So I'm excited to get some extra rest, even though knowing full well that I'm not going to be resting this weekend, and I'll undoubtedly feel worse on Tuesday morning than I would, than I do even now. But that's showbiz, baby. That's Hollywood.
Got to be on a boat listening to your 93 KHJ. Right?
Absolutely, the real Don Steele.
You know, we're listening to some yacht rock, having a few cold ones. I mean, it's that time of year, right?
It's that time of year, man.
Yeah. So this episode is brought to you, as usual, by our lovely support at the Patreon application, Patreon app. That's where you go, the website.
Yeah.
But
let me tell you, there's some things happening over on Patreon right now, and it seems that a power struggle has emerged here over on the Grunge Bible Patreon. Now, last week there was a very important development.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can we call this thing the Temple of the Dog? Because obviously Abraham is at the top. Abraham, the cutest bastard out, has been at the top of the Temple of the Dog.
Yeah.
There are people that are trying to climb the temple right now.
Well, here's the thing, and somebody has summited. So if we rewind to last week, Abraham decided to
play-by-play.
preemptively.
This is our play-by-play.
And this is breaking news. Like,
chance.
this happened like within the last hour. We received notification of this. So this is as breaking news will get on the Grunge Bible Podcast. So last week, Abraham preemptively upped the ante because there were rumblings that somebody was going to try to outdo Abraham and become the top dog. Well, Abraham's stay at the top of the totem pole of the Temple of the Dog is officially over. I would like to welcome the mighty Cracker Man, who out of nowhere has popped in here and joined at the top level, which is now $17.50. And I was at the gym when this happened. I don't like to be on my phone when I'm at the gym, but I saw the notification. I had to reach out to the Cracker Man here. So I said, holy shit, a new top dog. Like, we're literally about to record. Please tell me why you joined and what prompted you to become top dog. We'd love to hear it. And the Cracker Man wrote back and he said, hey, fellas, I joined because you guys are super entertaining and the podcast is like having a conversation with your mates. I love it. I chose top level because I can afford it. I love lots of shitty cups of coffee, haha. And as someone who was there when grunge blew up, quote, parentheses, I was in my early 20s back then. The discussions keep me connected with some of the music I love and the memories linked to it. Should have mentioned I'm an Australian. So we're going across the world for the new top dog.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Also, I absolutely love the title that you've chosen. Great Stone Temple Pilots song. And I mean, we've had, the Hat Man's around. I mean, now we've got the Cracker Man going right to the top. Thanks for listening all this time. I'm really glad you like the podcast. And seriously, it means we joke around about just about everything on this show, but it really truly means a lot that you're deciding to support us financially, because that's, I think any financial support of a podcast that you can get for free is a big step, and it's an intentional step. So that's not lost on us. So the Cracker Man is now at the top, and we await the response of those who are jockeying for the top.
I love, I could have guessed he's from Australia because, like you said, it's like he gives a shit, but then he also says, I can afford it. Like, I don't give a shit. Let's go 1750, he's just chill. He's like, whatever, let's do it. And I love that. Love the attitude. And, man, it's great. It was exactly what we needed right before starting this podcast. I'll tell you that much. Because I just pulled into my house and I got the notification too, and then you texted me in all caps and was like,
"Yeah, we got one."
the bidding war is on, so
yeah.
We're pumped about that. So if you're listening and you're like, "This Cracker Man, I can't have him be at the top of the list," and you want to, jump in and like you said, do we have a hat man yet?
We do. We don't have a hat man.
We don't
yet.
have a hat man.
No,
so like if
I think we need one,
yeah,
especially because
we need a Hat Man.
I know between us, Ethan, the Hat Man is tied forever to Soundgarden's Down on the Upside album, and we're recording this on the 29th anniversary of the release of that album, May 21st. Yeah. Never the Machine Forever and Applebite and all of those things are inextricably tied to the Hat Man, which I'm sure everybody out there doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it's important. And the Hat Man's just around the corner. The Cracker Man has presented himself.
I know there's at least one Patreon member that does know what we're talking about.
Yeah, there's
Eddie
one.
Vedder got me through my second divorce. He definitely knows. So, yeah, it is very fitting that the anniversary is here, and we can talk about the Hat Man again. I think we've told this story, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think we told it because this time last year we did an episode on Down on the Upside.
If we do get someone to join at the new top tier and they go by the Hat Man, we will tell that story.
We'll tell the story again.
No, we won't hold anything back.
Yeah, no, because I think there was.
We probably left out a few things last time, but we won't.
Yeah, there was probably some censorship last time that we had that discussion, and this time there will be no of the aforementioned censorship. Before I read the list of the top tier Patreon supporters, I do want to give one more update. The pulse of the people, as you may remember, we welcomed Jasmine to the Patreon last week, and Jasmine was studying for their exams and used us as the soundtrack. And Jasmine's stepfather worked in music and had a bunch of stories. And we got another message from Jasmine. Hello, Chris and Ethan. I just finished listening to today's podcast episode, which was last week's episode. And loved the shout out. I found it so ironic that you said my brain is operating on a different level because I'm doing a degree in psychology, so maybe that's why. I phoned Gary, my stepdad, earlier and was telling him about Grunge Bible, and he said he'd love for his stories to get a feature. Have a good week. We got to get Gary on the horn, Ethan.
I would love to. Yeah. I thought she was gonna write a story right there, and we are gonna get a little tidbit, but.
No, Jasmine's just teasing us right here. It's like Gary knows of us, we know of Gary, and we know that Gary has some stories.
I love it, dude.
Everybody's got a story to tell. So that's great news. And as we mentioned, the Cracker Man is now at the top, joining the following list of esteemed members of our Grunge Bible Patreon. So the penultimate dog right now is Abraham, who still is, while not the top dog, still is the cutest basset hound ever. So nobody can take that away from Abraham. Additionally, we would like to thank A Bit Dusty, Black Hole Sean, D-Boat, Doug Endy, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Jade Mercado, Gochujang, Epona, Jamie Lynn, Carlene Salona, The Michael Dooley Project, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, Russell, Nikki Six, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Sherry Matthews, Sunshine, Slackers, Ultra Mega OK, and What the Fuck is Up Denny's. Speaking of which, if I remember correctly, a couple of days ago, the Live Without Denny's set just turned like 14 or something. So another event this day in music history.
You know, we were in contact with them for a moment, few DM messages about getting them on. But if you guys are out there, I'd love to have you on talk about the Denny's Grand Slam.
Yeah, it was 12 years ago, May 19th of 2013.
But
yeah.
It would be cooler if it's
Didn't they open for Blink or something?
Yeah, they did.
That's so cool.
There was a big revival in video and got them,
there was
got back together, I guess.
There was
Maybe they're always together.
One of the really, really big meme pages on Instagram, it might have been Sunny Side Up or Fuck Jerry, is like a big proponent of Live Without and the Denny's Grand Slam, and like they did a line of exclusive merchandise at some point. Which is interesting. I have to say, I've seen a revival on like those big Instagram meme pages, or not a revival, just a rival rather of grunge memes. And I have to think that we're at least partially responsible for that. Like, I forget which one today, but like they posted the, the meme format of like two people in the car. It's like, hey, want to listen to this? And then in the second half of the meme, they leave them behind. Like somebody posted an Alice in Chains one, and I'm like, I feel like if we weren't around, they wouldn't be doing that. We set the example.
There's a lie detector here, and we asked them if they've seen. You seen this? Is this your homework?
Is this your homework, Larry? We know that this is your homework.
Yeah, it's interesting that last week how grunge is definitely in the reels like metaverse, or
it's become
the reels algorithm, it's in vogue and the way
again,
the way people use Nutshell and different things to represent is really fascinating. It's like, it's like people, when music went digital, people were like, oh, I didn't expect to have all these streams and stuff. And now like another thing, like, God rest his soul, like Jimmy Buffett, who he never would have thought that his songs would
God rest his soul.
He never would have thought that his Cheeseburger in Paradise would be used in so many reels,
right.
But it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'm just, I guess I'm a little surprised as to just how ubiquitous like Alice in Chains in particular has become in meme culture.
Yeah, it is.
And it's, and I hate like, this could be taken out of context, but like it's had tremendous crossover to the mainstream.
Are we about to gatekeep, Chris?
Do we
gatekeep and say that we hate it? We hate that people are using Alice in Chains so much.
Dude, like I don't like. I always feel conflicted.
Stay in your lane. That's the grunge Bible lane.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And like I feel conflicted. I think I've mentioned this before of like really, really leaning into the meme culture with Alice in Chains, where it's like, oh, this is just like music to be depressed to. And I just feel like it's an oversimplification. But at the same time, like I'm very complicit in it because like those memes and those reels, like they're always bangers. So that's why I put them out, because we've got a business to run,
mouths to feed.
Yeah, we got a lot of mouths to feed. So I just I don't know. I have complex feelings about that.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Like just like the Wood, posting on Monday. Like at some point, it's burned a new hole into your head of what it means to. So like, if he keeps this up, like you don't want to ruin Alice, if that's even possible. You don't want to ruin Alice in Chains because of been picked up too much.
Yeah, exactly. But
like Smells Like Teen Spirit or something.
At this point, though, it's entirely out of our hands because there's other people doing it. So yeah.
That was enough banter. I'd say let's get to this day in music. Yeah,
let's do it, man.
Do something like that. Big day. You want to go first? I feel like, or you gotta do the second one. There's some good birthdays. Yeah, you want to just run through some birthdays? Yeah,
I can. It looks like we got four birthdays in a row, so I can just rapid fire them, and then we can discuss the individuals that we like. They all share the same birthday, right? So it's easy. So, and this day is May 26th. So going back to 1939, American sports broadcaster Brett Musburger is born. Longtime voice of college football. He did baseball. He did everything. He's an absolute legend. Also on this day, but in 1940, the great late Levon Helm was born, one of the most special musicians to Ethan and I, born on this day in 1940, kicking it up nearly a decade on this day in 1948. The great, not late, Stevie Nicks was born. Moving forward into the 60s, on this day in 1964, the Krav Daddy was born, Lenny Kravitz. He just came up a couple of weeks ago with that number 5 album, and now we celebrate his birthday here, turning 61 years of age. So happy birthday.
He was at MSG watching the Knickerbockers the other day. Yeah,
dude. I mean, like Lenny Kravitz.
I didn't expect to see him. He's been popping up all over the place. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I guess this is my sign to go and get more into some Lenny.
Well, like Lenny Kravitz is one of those artists that I just massively underestimate how popular and successful he's been. Because like, I don't know, I was listening to Lenny Kravitz.
Not as popular as Musburger. Look,
no chance. He's not. Brent Musburger's the absolute man.
He's the oldest, and so it's funny because you're in my phone as Levon.
Right.
Better. So when I use Siri, I always ask him to call Levon. So I saw that and I was just like, and obviously, the Clash of Clans days, I was like, oh, it's Chris's birthday, Levon Helm. And then also, I think I had a little dyslexia for the next one. I thought it said Nick E6.
Oh.
Not Stevie Nicks.
Not quite. Unfortunately, we can't commemorate.
But a good Mount Rushmore of birthdays for
you get a little bit of everything
for May
right
26th. There. Yeah, that's great. It
was a really, really solid day there. And, obviously 3 of them are still with us, and we miss Levon Helm dearly. He passed away in 2012, and we've gone on band tangents before and Levon Helm tangents. And
Save the barn.
He was one of the great ones, man. Save the barn. We got to do our part to keep that thing alive. The Midnight Ramble.
All right, moving
I'm rambling again.
I'm rambling again. Moving to 1967, the Beatles release Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And I know. People love Sgt. Pepper's.
Dude, so this is how unschooled I am on the Beatles. I'm looking up currently which songs of theirs are on Sgt. Pepper's.
First thing I thought, is this a song or a band?
Dude, there's some good ones, honestly. With a little help from my friends. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. She's Leaving Home, Fixing a Hole. Oh, very important. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite makes an appearance. When I'm 64, and also Lovely Rita. And A Day in the Life. Okay, this is a good record.
Yeah, I think what was it? I don't know who posted it, but it was like top albums of all time. And we were just talking about with Sam Culp about if it was even possible to make a list like that. And then somebody who posted it, well, I got it right here.
Sgt. Pepper's is always on.
No, they said Abbey Road was the 50. It was some Reddit, but
naturally.
someone ranked Abbey Road as the best album of all time.
I think Sgt. Pepper's is the record that the Beatles made. Oh, what's that?
It was actually "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd.
Okay,
number 1. It was cut off, but they said Abbey Road was 2. But I love that, dude. Pink Floyd.
Yeah. We've been we just spoke about Pink Floyd last week, I think.
Yeah, music has been very inspirational right now. So I think that we're talking. The brains are. I feel like we're getting we're bouncing around a lot right now, and it's all coming up, So.
Yeah, I think Sgt. Pepper's was the. Oh no, it wasn't actually. They didn't travel to India until 1968, and Sgt. Pepper's came out in 67. So if they were doing that kind of stuff before they went to India with Donovan, and one of the Beach Boys was with them too, I think, and they just did all that type of meditation and whatnot, what have you. I don't know. Happy anniversary, Sgt. Pepper's. One more birthday here on this day in 1967. Kristen Paff was born, who was the bassist for Hole, and she passed away tragically in 1994 of a drug overdose, but a very important part of a important band. I'm tired of people saying that they're not important or that they suck or whatnot. Hole has their place in the 90s world, and I think we've had some requests to get into it. I've just, it's not something that we've been able to do lately or yet, and I think we might have to. We had a request specifically about Hole, so I'm gonna have to do it.
Put it on the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, moving. We have 1973. Some more Beatles stuff.
Of course.
Despite breaking up, 3 years earlier in 1970, the Beatles land their number one album in America. Their compilation album, The Beatles, 1967 to 70.
I've had enough Beatles. I wish there was some Elvis in this list.
Yeah, that's exactly the best way to put it. It feels like a hack to be the best album in America with a compilation album. That's just, you're cheating. That shouldn't be allowed.
We should legislate that.
Yeah.
We need to do something about that, because that's not right. I mean, they had many days in the sun throughout the 60s, and they didn't need to keep on going here. The last event on the calendar for this day in music history, on this day in 2017, Chris Cornell was laid to rest, and his funeral services took place out there in Los Angeles. And among the many guests who were there, the defining moment of that funeral for me is Chester Bennington there singing Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. And Chester would pass away later that summer in 2017 on July 20th. So somber all around. And I know last week we marked the anniversary of Chris Cornell's death, and spent a lot of time talking about it on the page. And the funeral is obviously a large point of it as well. And just a sad day here.
Yeah, really sad. And like we said earlier, we are recording this on Down on the Upside anniversary too, so a little sad, sweet and sour here talking. But
yeah, it's interesting. Early spring, late winter, early spring, just because of their anniversaries of their deaths. Kurt and Lane and their bands are always on my mind. But then as soon as you get deeper into spring, in May, June, and July, I'm just constantly thinking about Chris Cornell and what he meant to me, just with the anniversary of his death here in May, and then his birthday in July. And some album anniversaries around, this time of year. And, they're never far from my rotation either, obviously. Even Audioslave, Temple of the Dog is solo stuff, but Down on the Upside for sure. I feel like ever since we did a review of it, and it might have been 2 years ago. I just tried to find which episode number it was, but I couldn't find it in my quick search. But I've just been listening to that one more and more, and it's just it's become my go-to for Soundgarden. More so than even Super Unknown or Badmotorfinger. Yeah,
I agree. It's incredible. It's funny that I'll see 4th of July, the holiday. I feel like obviously you have to think of Soundgarden, and Chris, that one just pops up. I'm trying to think. There's another holiday where there's no reason to connect 4th of July with. Well, there is because of the song, but
right.
I don't know. It's always Soundgarden. It's always time for Soundgarden.
It always is. So for those interested parties at home and around the world, that was episode number 112 that we did for Down on the Upside back in May of 2023. So it's already 2 years ago that we did that episode. Crazy, because I remember that episode, the prep for that episode rocked our world, with it being really the Ben Shepherd show, having his fingerprints all over that record, and then Kim Thile writing the lyrics and music to Never the Machine Forever. Time flies, dude. That's 2 years.
Jeez, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Last thing to note.
Yes, this is the week of another anniversary.
Yeah, on May 29th, 1997, Jeff Buckley passed away at age 30. We actually did an episode on the album Grace, episode 190. That was back in November. We released it. So some homework for everybody to go out and listen to. Pretty sad. There's, 30 years old. Like I said, we did a whole podcast talking about some of his stuff, his story, and lost lover, romantic Jeff Buckley, great soul, and it's just one of those careers you didn't get to see played out, and it's always sad when that happens. Like, I think that when you just have one album and like a half-made album or whatever it turned out to be, it's never enough. So. Gonna be listening to a little bit of that. I know. Yeah, you got Grace, right? You got Grace. Yeah. So looking forward to it. But that's the last things of note for. Well, actually, there is one that'll take us right into the next thing.
Yes, it does, man. There's some news here.
Actually, honestly, this is all current events because like our main topic, we're gonna be talking about a Pearl Jam
some soundtracks that they've been involved in.
A special guest performance of Pearl Jam in a TV show. So a lot of current events going on here, but
first and foremost, Ethan, somebody's been fired.
There's emergency pod going on right now.
Josh Freese has been let go as the drummer of the Foo Fighters, ending his 2-year reign at the helm.
You've seen The Wizard of Oz, right?
I've never seen The Wizard of Oz.
What?
I know, dude. What? Yeah, ridiculous, isn't it?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Freeze is gone. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. It's not that I didn't like Freeze. So yeah, he was fired from the band for they released a statement that it was no particular reason.
So Josh's statement, which he announced, I suppose 5 days ago, so that would have been like the 16th thereabouts. He said, the Foo Fighters called me Monday night to let me know that they've decided, quote, to go in a different direction with their drummer, end quote. No reason was given. Regardless, I enjoyed the past 2 years with them, both on and off stage, and I support whatever they feel is best for the band. In my 40 years of drumming professionally, I've never been let go from a band, so while I'm not angry, just a bit shocked and disappointed. But as most of you know, I've always worked freelance and bounced between bands, so I'm fine. Stay tuned for my top 10 possible reasons Josh got booted from the Foo Fighters list. Josh.
Yeah, we're really hanging on our edge of our seat for that one, Josh.
Oh, we have the list here if you're interested.
All right, yeah, let's hear it.
We'll go 10-1 in true fashion.
Wait a minute. Hold on, before we get in, I do want to hear this. So he actually released a list of 10 reasons why he suspects that he got fired.
In the satirical style of The Late Show with David Letterman, they used to do this all the time, like top 10 reasons why, yada, yada, yada. So Josh's 10 possible reasons. Number 10, he once whistled My Hero for a week solid on tour. Number 9, he could only name one Fugazi song. Number 8, 2 words, polyrhythms. Number 7, metronome-like precision behind the kit deemed soulless. Number 6, demanded starting every rehearsal with a 20-minute cowbell sound bath. Number 5, never even once tried growing a beard. Number 4, didn't show up to studio because Mercury was in retrograde. Number 3, promised Noodles he could be fourth guitarist. Number 2, refused to perform unless he was guaranteed a Ouija board and nunchucks after every show. And the top possible reason why Josh Freese got booted from the Foo Fighters, the whole poodle thing was getting to be a bit much. Now, I'm not very well versed in the ins and outs of current Foo Fighters lore, but I'm sure that hit home with a lot of people and was, lovely and comical for them.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So I was able to see the Foo. I don't even know when it was now. Last maybe a year and a half.
You saw them with Josh, right?
Saw him with Josh, and it obviously a fantastic drummer, really really good. But it was different, right? It felt different, and that's just I guess how it's going to be moving forward. Comparing it to Taylor, but
right.
Same time we went and saw at the benefit concert. We saw him play, and now granted, in the moment, I mean they're just ripping. So but afterwards, it just. This is the problem when you lose Taylor, who is not technically one half of the band, but it was Taylor and Dave that were running the ship. And that was the Foo Fighters.
Well, I mean, even in terms of just on stage, Taylor was always the foil to Dave's persona on stage in the same way. I honestly equate it to Bruce Springsteen and Clarence Clemens, back in the E Street days when Clarence was still alive. You lose, a very big part of the performance aspect of it, and you can never get that back.
And so, I mean, Josh didn't know why he doesn't know why he got fired, but it could have been that. I mean, they needed somebody that was really professional and could get him through the next 2 years, if you will, maybe to bring in, maybe Taylor Hawkins' son, or somebody I don't know. I think there's maybe they needed a more familiar aspect to it, because I think that's a lot of what it is, and I don't know.
Well, I'm sure there's always personality conflicts. I mean, the Foo Fighters are a big business, and regardless of what anybody wants to think, they're a corporation at this point, as all big outfits are, and I think it's difficult to drop somebody in and assimilate into a group like that. So who knows whether it was purely from a from a performance standpoint or from a personality standpoint or a little bit of everything. But it seems like if there's one position on the stage that always gets fired, it's always the drummer, man.
A lot of drummers have gotten fired in this biz.
Yeah, man. And, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation because they have shows announced, I think, within the next year that they'll be playing. So obviously the rumor mill starts going. But I have two picks here who I think the Foo Fighters should turn to.
Okay.
I think
these are real picks, or is this satire as well?
I mean, you be the judge. I think they, because it worked so perfectly the first time, I think they need to give a call to William Goldsmith, the original drummer of the Foo Fighters, and see if 30 years of time can get him behind the kit. And my other selection here as to who I think Foo Fighters Incorporated should give a call. According to a recent Google search of mine, a gentleman by the name of Leo Pearlstein is the world's oldest living drummer at a ripe age of 104 years old. I think they got to get him an audition and see if he has the chops for the Foos.
The oldest living drummer. That's ridiculous. So he's performing?
He's a jazz drummer, apparently, and also a businessman. The founder and president of Lee and Associates, a public relations and advertising firm, and he wet his whistle with the advertising firm way back in the year of our Lord 1950.
So if he's 104, sadly, there's I don't think there's anybody alive from the 1800s right now.
I couldn't imagine. I don't think anybody's alive, let alone somebody who's a drummer.
We're past the point. Sidebar here. Last night I watched a Netflix documentary called Don't Die about the guy Brian Johnson. He's trying to anti-age. He looks like he's from 30 Seconds to Mars. He looks like It was really interesting. His sole goal is to live, just anti-age and all this stuff. I don't know why anybody would want to do it, but it's kind of cool that somebody's out there devoting everything to do it. And,
wait, is he actually the guy from 30 Seconds to Mars?
No, Jared, I don't know. Did you just pull him up?
Yeah, I just found him. He's a venture capitalist and shit.
Yeah, he invented Venmo. He was a Mormon or whatever. He was a Mormon, then sold Venmo for millions of dollars.
This is freaky,
and then
man.
Kind of went through some times where he maybe not wanted to. He didn't want to live forever, if you know what I mean. And then he just changed and wants to live forever.
Dude, I'll tell you.
But one of the things they said in there, one of the doctors were talking, and so sidebar, but would I do it? No. Do I think that not eating a cheeseburger? I mean, everything's regimented, right? It's not realistic. It's not fun, right? I mean, what he's doing, and he doesn't really have he lives by himself in LA in a mansion, but his son did live with him for a little bit. But one of the researchers said, this is in 100 years, be wow. So people just got old and died. That's so sad. And if you think back even 100 years ago, people used to die of dysentery and infection and the lifespan was
average
60s.
lifespan. If you were 50, you were an old man.
Right. So what he's doing, he's just, he's basically a science experiment for everybody to take. I mean, he's tracking everything. So like I said, I would never intentionally do it, but they gotta be getting some good information about genomes and being all that stuff dealing with cancer, different life-saving knowledge probably could be, if this dude is really, I don't know, taking it to the
Let me tell you
extremes
something, Ethan. In the words of our friend June Swoon, in one of her songs, she says, "I hope I don't live more than once. I think I've seen enough." And I apply that to living an incredibly long life. I'm going to reach a point I've seen enough, and I don't need to be doing all that. I don't want to die of dysentery at 43, but I don't want to live to 130 either.
What's your cap? What are we talking here?
Well, it depends on the condition that you're in. If I could live a good.
This is a Drew McFadden show question right here.
Absolutely.
Drew, what's the age, huh?
He's well, if you think about it, there's levels to this. I don't know, man. I mean, it would be cool to be my grandparents are in their late 80s right now. They're 87 and 88, and they're not, not as good as they once were. But in terms of 88, they're moving around pretty well, for their age. So I could upper 80s sounds good. You get to 90? and then just I don't know, fade out after that.
Yeah,
take it easy.
I mean, So you don't want to hit triples?
I don't know. I
Triples
mean,
of the Novas?
also, what's the world looking like then? I don't know. I might have seen enough.
You might have seen enough. I feel like if I get to 90, my competitive edge might kick in.
Yeah.
And I made it this far. I
you want to compete? Like, do you want to? You and I
be the
like,
oldest drummer.
We'll see. Exactly. Who's going to be drumming for the Foo Fighters in 2085?
Well, we can have a death pact.
All right.
So I'm in. Basically, yeah.
Wait, is that like if you die, I have to go?
No. Good. If I die first, you win, and I leave money for you go to get a dinner.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm down to do that.
Or it could be it could be more than that. But yeah, loser, whoever dies has to buy the winner dinner.
Perfect.
when they're gone.
Sounds great. Yeah, I shake hands with you on that pact right now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good plan there. So yeah, so all of that relates to who's going to replace the Foo Fighters.
We'll have to set up a bank account. Be like, what do you want to name this? Name it Death Pact.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure
I need to put $1,000 in there for my buddy Chris.
It's like when somebody's like tabulating your estate. It's like, what is this Death Pact account? Everything else has been accounted for except this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it goes. I guess we'll have to wait and see who replaces Josh Freese at the kit.
Yeah, we'll break the news to everybody. I'm sure.
We'll work our sources here.
All right, moving on to the most important / last.
It's all important. Yeah, we're just kind of meandering this episode. It's Wednesday night. It's a getaway game for you. You got to hit the road and throwing some topics together if things that are in the works
game, if
here.
you will.
Yeah, this is a bullpen game. Absolutely,
this is a bullpen game, if you will.
Yeah.
So the other day, or just yesterday, I was listening to the radio, and Future Days came on the local radio station, but it was a little bit different version. And afterwards, and I noticed it, and then afterwards, they were saying that it was released on the Last of Us soundtrack. Which, if you haven't watched or don't know, there's TV show on HBO about like an apocalyptic setting, and it is in its second season. And I watched the first season and watched the first episode. Is
it good?
I haven't actually. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Do you like apocalyptic stuff?
I do. Yeah, my overall feeling over the last couple of years is like I just need to suck it up and get HBO because I feel like there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is like the main
guy.
And yes, the acting's great. Everything's really good about the show. And but they said it was in the show, and I didn't actually. I'm not caught up, so no spoilers here. Don't worry about that. Except for the fact that the song is in the in one of the episodes, and I don't know. It got me thinking. So I looked it up, and PJ released a limited EP with Future Days, a live version where he actually shouts out Joel, the main character, and all or none in present tense. And it was really nice. I listened to it while I was working, and they have a part where Eddie like shouts out The Last of Us and the main two people, and it was cool. And it got me thinking about how TV shows give artists another reason to like write songs, rewrite songs. Like you see a lot of times where people they take songs and they rearrange them, or they do them completely different stylistically. But then also, like, I believe The Bear, Eddie Vedder wrote a song specifically for the soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I can't remember the title.
Yeah, there was an original song that he did. I don't remember, but I remember it came out last year, and it was pretty it was awesome, dude. It was Save It for Later, I think. I don't know
for Later. Yeah,
it's an original or if it's a cover. I'm not well read on the origins of that song, but that was a cool one for sure.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I was like, oh yeah, I mean, and Eddie obviously has Into the Wild soundtrack. We wrote the whole, you wrote the whole soundtrack for that, and yeah, you get some really creative, artistic. And when I was listening to Future Days, which is, I mean, an awesome song, but like when I need to actually watch this episode still, but like thinking about it being apocalyptic and the setting. Is really cool, say, interpretation of the song and them choosing to use it for this relationship because it's a a son and or it's a father's daughter. They're not actually father daughter, but complex in the show. So it's a really unique. I'm not going to spoil anything, but just a unique take on the song, and they chose that, the songwriters, and to include it. And Eddie was like, "Yeah, this is in for it." And I think it's really cool. I love when art and music like really work together, and that happens a lot in movies or skits and music videos. Anytime you have skits, I mean, so it's just cool crossing of those two things I love. TV and music.
I'll tell you the thing I loved about that release they did of those 4 songs was present tense, the version that they did. So, and if you listen to it, the first portion of it, the first verse or so, is the version from No Code, the vocals from No Code, but then it switches and it's Eddie Vedder now. And it was just such an interesting experience listening to it because I saw it came out. I've not seen the show, and I listened to all 3, and this was the 4th song on the little release that they did. And I was like, oh, like I wonder how this one is different because it said Redux, so I was like, the mix is going to be different in some way. And I heard his vocals at the beginning, and I was like, okay, like that's cool. And then he came in with like present day Ed. And it was just so cool, and they re-recorded all the instrument parts too for the end, and there's just little differences there, but I felt like it was really fitting, and I'm grateful that we're at the point with Eddie and with Pearl Jam that like they can do things like this, and you couldn't pick a better song to revisit 29 years later now than Present Tense, I just imagine like, going to cut that song again in a studio because they play it live all the time, and that's its own thing, but going to a studio and lay down vocals for a song that you wrote and had experiences with in 1995 and 1996 when you went in the studio for this thing, and then here you are now. It's just an interesting reflection point, and I'm sure people that have had that song with them for the last 3 decades feel similarly when you hear something like that. It's just it's cool to hear 1996 Eddie Vedder juxtaposed with 2025 Eddie Vedder on the same track, in a song that's about what it's about.
Yeah, and just the fact that a lot of people would play songs that are say 30 years old and it probably wouldn't be excited to sing it, but like when you have a song like that, I mean that's a special one to age with as a songwriter. I feel like when he gets to play it live, or I feel like it would be really cool to basically perform and to be able to sing that and live in the present tense. And it's a good I feel like I would expect Eddie to be really proud of that one.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really impressed, and I really appreciate like his arc as he's grown older, and just different projects that he's done, and stuff that he's written about, and he's aging quite gracefully in the way that a lot of people from his era didn't have the opportunity to do so because they're not with us anymore. And it's nice to know his candle is still burning strongly, and I know he carries a lot of those memories forward with him, and you can just kind of feel it in the music that he makes and when he performs. It's a cool thing. Like people are critical as we all have been, of Pearl Jam and things that they've done, but it's still really cool that people have the chance to go and see them. Like they just wrapped up their latest leg of their Dark Matter tour with a couple of shows in Pittsburgh last weekend, and it's just each subsequent story I read about people getting the chance to see him for the first time is really cool.
So do you have any other any other songs off the top of your head that were played in the soundtrack of a show that I don't know, that stick out to you basically, or you didn't really realize the first time, or you're like, oh, is that who I think it is? Because I think when this came on for The Last of Us, like, oh, here we go, like Pearl Jam, this is great. A lot of the Reddits were like, I mean, people got really excited about it. Obviously, it was a nice treat to the show.
Yeah, a little similar to that, but just like discovering songs that were initially placed in soundtracks that kind of took on a life of their own. Like actually in the Pearl Jam camp, one of my favorite songs of theirs, Hard to Imagine, was in a movie by the name of Chicago Cab. And the interesting part of that one is that the version that appears in that film is actually different from the one that they perform now and the one that was on Lost Dogs in 2003 and kind of like the more accepted one. It's just got a little differences in some of the lyrics, which is really interesting. And it's just, I think that was the one that I heard first before I was like a consistent user of any streaming service. Like I was a YouTube, connoisseur, and just by happenstance, when I found Hard to Imagine, it was the Chicago Cab version. And
have you seen the movie?
I've not seen the movie. No, I think it flopped. I don't know. And I also think it was the first iteration of Pearl Jam's music appearing in a film.
Yeah.
Because I think it came out in 1997. So maybe perhaps obviously singles, but aside from that, I'm not sure. Yeah, it grossed $24,000 at the box office, which I don't know if that was. Oh, it was not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a film critic. Yeah, but cool it was included. But that the version for the movie has this really cool lyric that's not in the more widely known one, and it says "Fuck tradition, no one's safe from harm." And I've always loved that. It's just a perfect lyric there. But that's one that comes to mind, kind of in like the Pearl Jam camp. You
definitely sent me that version a few times.
Yeah, super super cool. What about you, Ethan? Like you like film experiences or even TV shows where you're like, there it is, like that's my song, everybody.
Yeah, I think I feel like we may have had this conversation once before, but like
we may have, yeah.
In the HBO series Westworld, they have a heart-shaped box cover / it's all piano, and it's just breathtaking. It's one of those songs like sometimes when people just do covers of songs with just piano and they cut out everything, sometimes it like really heightens the song. I don't know if that just means that like piano is like the goated instrument. It's just better than everything because it takes you can play a whole song with the different obviously octaves and play all the parts on the piano, and it's so good. So good. And I think it was a credits type of thing. It was at the end. So that was the kind of cool part about this. It was actually a scene where I believe he's singing to Ellie, and it's funny. And one of the things I read about it, he was a Pearl Jam fan. I guess the movie or the show originally is supposed to be in 2013, which is when Lightning Bolt came out.
Yes.
But then I think they actually moved it back to 2003 for the TV show. Like the game was in 2013, The Last of Us. And they were speculating if Joel is saying that he wrote this song or if he knows about Pearl Jam in this world. Like is Pearl Jam, like is he an Eddie Vedder fan, or this is just a song that he wrote?
Right.
Which is pretty cool that the song Future Days is like fits perfectly with something that could be in this world. So yeah, and Westworld, I'll go back to that. There's a ton of covers on that whole season and soundtrack that are slightly different. And I really do like the Bear soundtrack with the Eddie Vedder single. That was
100%. Yeah, a lot of and even like classic era HBO. Like I know I've spoken about this on this show before, but the soundtrack for The Sopranos, for example, is just unmatched. And David Chase, the creator of the show, and some of the individuals who worked on the production team, like were very attuned to just like placing music properly in it, and they had some absolutely knockout choices. Like there's one episode where it closes, I think it was the last episode of a season, so it's just like really really perfect, kind of everything kind of closing up, and they used a Rolling Stones song called Through and Through, which I was not aware of. I think it was newish at the time, from the late 90s, and Keith Richards is on vocals for it, which is really cool, because it's not your typical Stones stuff, and it was just the perfect bookend for it. And just a good soundtrack and good use of mainstream music that people recognize when it's played properly in film and TV shows. It's just really 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 awesome.
Yeah, I think it is definitely hard to, because they also have to get the rights, I'm sure. Because usually
that's the big issue, because a lot of times bands won't issue their music for rights. And for example, in The Sopranos, that was the first time that Led Zeppelin had ever had ever released a license to use their music in anything like that. They used rock and roll in The Sopranos, and then as it relates to Pearl Jam, the first time their music was ever licensed for a television show was in 2004 for the Friends finale, where there's a final scene right towards the end of that episode where Yellow Ledbetter plays. And I'm not a Friends guy at all, so I don't know any of the context of it, but I've seen the scene and it's kind of awesome. David Schwimmer.
That's great. It's a very interesting side of licensing the.
Well, you know the story too.
Why wouldn't
the Big
they
Lebowski, right? Of how they were able to use dead flowers.
Yeah, we definitely. I think we've talked about this. I mean, I feel like
because Dead Flowers is a Rolling Stones song, they held the license for it. So if they wanted to use Townes Van Zant's version, they needed to get permission and a license from the Rolling Stones, and they were on the fence about it until the Rolling Stones team was they gave a screening of the film to it, and when they got to the part where the dude says, "I had a long night and I hate the fucking Eagles, man," they were like, "All right, like we'll give you the license to use Dead Flowers."
That's amazing.
Love issuing licenses out of spite.
That's ridiculous. That's rock and roll.
Yeah, that is rock and roll.
Yeah, I used to really hate the Eagles because of that movie for the longest time. But then I was like, maybe I can't actually hate the Eagles, right?
No, can't do it.
Yeah. So you start to get into rock and roll with the Eagles.
Exactly. That's what we've said before. The perfect intro. People have said that.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a pretty solid spot to
just nice bullpen game. I think all these different topics gave us 2 innings apiece, and saving the starter's arms when we can stretch out a little bit and have a little bit more time. But
finishing a road trip, what do you expect?
That's true. The rotation is gassed right now.
Thank you everybody so much for listening to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. We couldn't do it without your support. Again, if you want to support us, please head over to Patreon, and you can find whatever fits your ability. Like I said, we do have a new top dog in the Cracker Man. So we'll see how long his reign holds. Drew McFadden, our producer, we love you. Thank you very much.
Steadfast.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, that's it. We'll be back next week.
We throwing any songs of the weekend in the mix?
Oh man, I forgot.
Sorry, he's our last reliever in the bullpen right now.
Yeah. Come on. We'll
call him in. I'm gonna go nice and easy. I'm gonna pick that new version of present tense and throw that onto the list.
That's good. Yeah, I'm gonna go easy as well, and I think I already put Harp J Box on there. I've actually had a ton of I've had a lot of good music inspiration. I feel like there's a ton of songs I could talk about right now.
Yeah, me too.
I will say, dude, the one song that I've been really digging is "Days Like This" by Van Morrison.
Dude, there'll be days like this.
There'll be days like this, man. It is
the horns in that song too. When he gets that horn section
absolute
going.
heat. That song's been so good. I heard Walking Dogs they're gearing up to play. They missed a few sets.
Yeah,
Chris.
Van Morrison's
there is a list brewing for the Walking Dogs, and that's definitely going to be on that playlist.
Oh yeah, I could totally see it. Hell yeah, man.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Rock and roll.
We'll be back next month in June. Another month in the books of the Grunge Bible Podcast. Have a great rest of the month. Rock and roll, and we'll see you in June.